Hello, I'm Donna Thomas. This is the answer the guiding souls gave to a question that was asked about the state of the world today.
In one sense, it seems humanity is moving up toward a higher consciousness, with increasing interest in spirituality, meditation, healthy diets, and personal growth work of many kinds. But at the same time, we seem to be sliding down to greater depths of depravity, cruelty, terrorism, and hatred. Sometimes I feel optimistic and uplifted, but sometimes quite discouraged or even frightened. I know I'm not alone in these feelings. Will you comment on what you see actually happening on our planet at this time, and make any suggestions for how best to handle it?
As we do step forward at this time and we do bring about our wisdom, our collective wisdom, to bring about an understanding for the self of you as to what is occurring at this time in many regions of the earth plane, that which you would see as quite destructive, at other times you would say quite discouraging, at times you would say it's quite helpless in that which you would wish to desire, which you wish and do desire. That which would bring about the understanding that the earth, the peoples of the earth, are bringing about their wisdom and their individual and collective love, their goodness, their desire to bring about the unification of all peoples, as if to stand together hand in hand and heart in heart. There would then be these disparaging feelings of that which does look quite contrary to that which is desired. It is quite understandable that as you at this time in the life, to understand what is occurring, you would think, you would see as if most of what is occurring is quite bad, it is quite scary, it is quite unnerving to many of yourself. For in effect, that which is contrary to what the ideal would be for the soul, for the self, that which we would call at this time of the love, the actions of the love, that which would bring about the feelings of the peace and tranquility and the comfort, which is primary for many of you on the earth, seeking of the comfort and the knowing and the trust and goodness. We would say then that much of what you are seeing at this time is being brought about because of a larger working that is occurring, that which we have stated in the past time as the Great Awakening, that which would bring about the underlying desires that you, those of you here in this time, and the many of the earth that do create the meditation and the goodness and the practices that would bring about the feelings of the peace, would wish to see. So you would understand then that as with any lifetime on the earth, many do need to experience that which is not perfection in your eyes, that which seems quite contrary to perfection, that which does feel to be quite painful, so that you can then make the choice to bring about the goodness. That which you would bring about is the finer points, the ideal ways of living and being. As with many on the earth at this time, there is an awakening that is occurring. To you, to those who are present in this time, you may not see these as the proof of the awakening, but we do quite heartily wish to convey to you that though you must see many in the time of this, the governments of the United States and in other areas of the world that do seem quite corrupt, do seem quite contrary to that which you would ultimately desire, we do assure you that there is an awakening occurring. There is a slight moving forward in some. There are great leaps occurring in others. There are some who have not yet begun, who will come to fruition in their goodness in time, when the time is correct for them. We would say then that as you would look at the many areas that are quite painful, if you can bring about the compassion of the self, Bring about the empathy, knowing that all that does occur in the realm of inflicting pain, that which would occur in the confusion of the state of the fear that would create the pain in others, that which would be quite negligible through the ignorance of some, that which would bring about the quite powerful choices that would seem quite contrary to what you would choose. You would understand that each of these processes of each of these people is quite necessary for the awakening of all. For as you would see that if you would see the quite terrible occurrence on the television, that which would bring about the pain in others, you would be quite then convinced and dedicated to not living that life, to not bringing about that level of pain and suffering on another. So then, would many then have the moments of seeing in the gangs, for instance, the gangs of the larger cities and the smaller cities to a certain degree, then would understand that they would wish to have the family. They would wish to have the feeling of belonging. They would wish to know that the goodness does exist, though many do not in their arena believe the good exists. So they would, in their particular way, that seems quite contrary to your way, be attempting to bring about the balance, would be trying to bring about the goodness in the way that they can interpret. Now, we do say that as you do quite understand the depth of despair of many, for they have not had what you have had in the arena of the love, perhaps, or the arena of the spiritual guidance that you have had, they would then be attempting to create the goodness in the way that they would understand. So, in their minds, they are creating good, in which case they are creating quite bad in your eyes. But in time, as we do allow you to see in this moment a glimpse, a snapshot into what is occurring in the larger scheme of the life of the earth plane, then you would understand that as each of these peoples in the gangs are witnessing each other, so to speak, witnessing what is occurring, what actions they are taking, and so forth, then you would understand that each of these human beings, for they are as human as you are, they have the fears that you have, they have the aching for belonging such as you have. As each of these humans do bring themselves forward and they do witness both their actions and the actions of others, there is awakening occurring within them. It may be not at the level or the speed with which you would enjoy and welcome in your life, but it is, in fact, for themselves the way to their personal evolution and enlightenment. So we would say that if you would allow for the self of you to give pardon to a certain degree to those who have acted in ways that are quite distasteful to the self and perhaps even painful, that you would know that the evolution that you do wish for all is in fact occurring. The great awakening is upon you now, for it has been brought about through many, many years, thousands of years of the inner work of many, the inching towards the greater good of many, and the desires for the bringing about of the mutual peace with all beings on earth. And the more the invitation, the willingness of the self, of you, to bring yourself forward in the trust of that. The trust that all is in accordance with what can exist and what is being brought forward, the goodness that is being brought forward. You then become one of the many who would help to guide this new age that is coming forth to occur. Your willingness to trust in that which does pour forth from ourselves through each of you, the goodness, the love that does transform all experience with the intention that you do bring the self forward. You would then understand that all is in place. All is occurring in its own way. That is, of course, quite necessary for you on earth to understand that all fear does bring about the feeling that perfection does not exist. That if I feel the badness, the pain, the anger, the fear, the suffering, that it is badness. But you would then know the truth in you that all does serve yourself. All the questions that have been given today, the pain, the worry, the yearning of the self, does serve the self to grow, both in the individual and in the collective awareness that is brought forward by ourselves to you at this time. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you very much.